Shabbat Shalom. And Shana Tova. So the confluence of Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah makes each of these two separate powerful days feel a bit unfamiliar. Even the familiar greetings feel off. Which do we include? Which do we say first? While I would expect these two holy occasions to build on each other, the lived experience is that they seem to detract from one another when combined. Take, for example, this evening service for Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah. We actually cut out almost the entirety of the Kabbalat Shabbat liturgy. And for once, this wasn't an effort by Alex and I to save time and shorten the service. This is actually what tradition dictates. There's very little readily available information that I could find as to why our custom is to eliminate Kabbalat Shabbat when Shabbat and holidays coincide. According to asktherabbi.org, that's right, there is an asktherabbi.org. Please don't use it to fully replace me. The reason that we recite Kabbalat Shabbat on a regular Shabbat Friday evening is to elevate us to the right spiritual level so that we can accept Shabbat in the correct frame of mind. When Shabbat and a holiday coincide with each other, there is no Kabbalat Shabbat on Friday evening because the holiday brings with it such an enhanced holiness that we do not require the additional preparation of Kabbalat Shabbat to draw us upwards spiritually. Basically, what they're saying is that the very nature of the combined holiday and Shabbat do our spiritual work for us, rendering the preparation of Kabbalat Shabbat unnecessary. And while in some ways that's a nice thought, I also can't help but to feel robbed. After all, Eids is here. I want a song-filled Kabbalat Shabbat this Friday more than ever. I expect that this feeling will be magnified tomorrow after the Torah service, in the heavy silence created by the absence of the shofar, which we won't blow out of respect for Shabbat. So as we head into this doubly holy day, I want to attempt to create some synergy between Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah. I've been thinking a lot leading up to Rosh Hashanah about a passage from the beginning of the Shabbat Amidah, even though we won't recite it tomorrow. Yismach Moshe b'matnat chelko, ki eved ne'eman karata lo, klil tiferet berosho natata lo, be'amdo lefanecha b'har Sinai, u'shnei luchot avanim horid be'ado. Moses rejoiced in the role he was given, for you called him a trusted servant. You placed a beautiful crown on his head when he stood before you at Sinai. He carried down in his hands 2 stone tablets on which were recorded the observances of Shabbat. I love that imagery. I picture Moses skipping down the mountain, irrepressibly joyful, the heavy stone tablets light as air in his hands as his excitement builds to share the gift of Shabbat with the rest of the people. Except we know the story doesn't end there. Moses sees the people worshiping the golden calf in his absence, and the tablets fall to the ground and shatter. What exactly took place in that moment when the tablets broke is a matter of dispute amongst the rabbis. One opinion holds that Moses cast them down in a rage, shattering them on purpose. Another opinion teaches that at the sight of the Israelites worshiping the golden calf, Moses' strength failed him. He was completely deflated. His mental anguish manifested in his body, and the tablets tumbled to the ground, as he was simply unable to bear their weight for even a moment longer. The second interpretation is the one that resonates more with me. Listen, who am I to criticize Moses? But I don't think he was fully prepared for life after Sinai. Moses was so on top of the world during his 40 days with God atop Mount Sinai that he might have been experiencing a sense of perfect joy and fulfillment. And I wonder if he assumed that he would be able to maintain that spiritual high forever. Yet when reality intruded, when the inevitable downfall presented itself, he was completely unprepared to handle it. Moses had no spiritual rainy day fund, no well of coping mechanisms to draw on, no support of family or friends, nor personal resilience ready to call on to carry him through a tough moment. I think this is one of the great challenges of tshuva, our work of return and repentance that is the focus of the Jewish high holidays. As we encounter our own victories and disappointments, juggle our hopes and regrets, we can all too easily find ourselves bouncing between extremes. We must remember that bad times will, God willing, get better, and good times, for better or worse, will eventually pass. Gam ze ya'avor. This too shall pass. A very Jewish response to the low points of life and the highs. I want to share one last thought on finding some healthy middle ground. It comes from Rabbi Shefa Gold, and those of you who attended Adult Ed on Monday evening have already heard it, but it bears repeating and spreading to a wider audience. This is excerpted from a great book, Making Prayer Real, Leading Jewish Spiritual Voices on Why Prayer is Difficult and What to Do About it. She is writing about the Haftarah for Shabbat Nachamu, the first Haftarah of consolation we read 7 long weeks ago. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Yomar, Elohechem, Dabru Alev Yerushalayim, Vekir'u Eleha, Ki Mal'at Siv'ah, Ki Nirtza Avona. Comfort, O comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and declare to her that her term of service is fulfilled, that her iniquity is expiated. Here's what Rabbi Gold has to say. I was preparing for Shabbat, and I came across these words from Isaiah, your service is fulfilled. I thought these are great words to chant before Shabbat, as a way of letting go of the week. But as I was chanting, I felt the words so strongly. God was saying, you've done enough and you are enough. You've completely fulfilled your mission in this moment. It exposed a disease I didn't know that I had. I was holding on to a low-level anxiety, a voice saying, you're never enough and you're never done. You always have to stay vigilant because something is going to fall through the cracks. I experienced what it was like to know that I was completely finished in this very moment, and then take up the next moment from the place of joy rather than anxiety. I experienced it as switching fuel tanks, that before what fueled my work in the world was a little bit about anxiety and not getting things done, and now I felt what it was like to live from the pure joy of the work itself. Chanting that phrase gave me an experience, a new compass point to guide my life, because I had a moment where I felt what it was like to be enough. Over the coming days and over the coming year, may we know and appreciate what it is to be enough, and let those glorious moments carry us through good times and bad. Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom.